Good evening, folks. This is installment number 5 of the 2008 Dodge Ram 1500 rear differential. We pressed off the bearing race and pressed on this new bearing. We got a new Timken bearing on here now. Next, this crush sleeve goes on. This bearing goes on. The seal goes on. And the flange that the drive shaft hooks onto goes on. So all of this has to be assembled before we start putting the differential carrier in. So while I was out at the press today, I was also able to install this bearing and the bearing that goes on the other end, which you can't see, and it has a race. So now the task is to install this ring gear. So you want to put this thread locker down towards the end of the thread so that it gets on as the bolt screws in. These are left-hand thread, I've got to remember. As the bolt screws in, the thread locker spreads up the thread and hopefully bonds super tight. So I torqued those bolts to the spec, which is 75 foot-pounds. Next, let's install the bearing race for the pinion bearing. We'll put a little oil in this bearing as well, and then we'll drop it in there. How about that? Now we'll take these bolts out. You can see these preload devices are screwed in there. And I've got a long tool that has a big nut on the end of it that we're going to thread in this axle, come in here on the back side and turn these babies. Camera right. And turn that. Are we turning? Sweet. Next, I rigged a strap and used my hoist to drop the carrier into the housing. We got to bring this in and this in to preload those bearings. Now this should start tightening up here. Yep. Sort of want to always keep that turning. Make sure you have no bearings bound up. We'll check that out, fellers. Got backlash now. Next, we'll install the bearing caps and hand tighten the bolts into those caps. Well, it's midnight, so we're going to stop here today. Next, we will take our measurements and check for the gear mesh and go from there. So stand by for the next video.